Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Our 4 key points we're going to talk about today, and we're going to spend the most time on the first point because it is the most visible and system operating changing experience that you're going to have is going to be on the customizable user experience. But we're also going to address the other concerns that our current dealers have with our 1.0 version and how we've enhanced the experience and made this even smarter than it was prior. By the way, warning shot across the bow, I guarantee no matter what we did, there will be features that you guys will want that are not included because we can't include everything. However, you will see constant improvements as we move forward. One of our big discussions yesterday was making sure we remain innovative and come up with additions and improvements, in a more timely fashion than waiting 4 years, 5 years for a new Accelerator to come out. So we're going to start off by talking about the customizable user experience, but I'm not going to get started until I let you know that this single-handedly has changed the interaction with the system to a degree that I didn't really think it would. I was surprised as to how much of a difference this made, not just for me, but the other people in the household. And this has been, this sentiment has been mimicked by almost everyone that has tried this in their home. So first thing to talk about the customizable user experience is what you can actually customize. So although we'll be talking about each of these individually, you can customize the background image. You can customize a new menu called the scenes menu, which is pretty radical, and I'll show you that in a bit. We have a brand new rooms menu that can be customized, as well as, just like in 1.0, and the reason they're at the end is very similar to 1.0, you can still change device images and main menu icons, but we'll talk about the process, which used to be laborious is probably an easy word. It's probably a generous word. This used to be a real pain in the neck, and we have made this so much easier in 2.0. And one of the ways that we have done that is instead of having different sizes for different user interfaces, meaning that you would have to put new images into the right folder at the right size for each of the different user interfaces, we have given you the ability to create a single one size image. We dictate the size, but as long as you create that image to the size that we say, we will automatically scale it to fit all user interfaces. And as you'll see in Accelerator, this greatly speeds up changing custom graphics on the fly, as well as changing default graphics. And we'll talk about all of that as we move forward. All of that being said, every single user interface has the ability to be given a specific layout type. Jack, great question. Oh, hi, Jack. How are you? So the original import size, is it formatted a certain way? We've done PNG and bitmap and JPEG, and it works fine. So figure out all the common ones as far as we know. I wouldn't do any kind of crazy format. It won't, but other than that, it is it's PNGs, bitmaps, and JPEGs going fine. So all of that being said, each user interface can be given one of many different views. Now, I will tell you, the views we are showing here are going to be the views you're going to see on the 5500, the upcoming 56, or the 5600, the 7600, on the larger UIs on the iPhone, etc. The 1080 does have a different look, but it's not as big of an interface, so I decided to show it off in the larger interface. But the one you've seen all the press about, and the one we've shown a lot of pictures about, is called the ribbon view. The ribbon view is the view we feel a lot of customers are going to like, because especially on a larger UI, it really lets you see the background image. There are still 6 icons here, but I do want to bring up a couple of things that have changed. First of all, the most basic thing is it's not a spinning wheel of like a roulette wheel where you got to spin the thing and hope you land on entertainment. It was kind of fun as a game to play, but now it's standard page flips, just like you would have on a typical iOS or Android device, just like people used to on their phones. So besides being a page flip, we moved the rooms, which used to show up in the middle here. We moved it to the left-hand side. And by tapping that, you still go to the rooms menu. Now playing has remained in the upper right-hand side. And of course, when you tap on that, you jump to the now playing source. Other than that, what we've done is the time is now omnipresent in the bottom right corner, which is wonderful on a 1080. Now you have the time showing up on a 1080 all the time. So being down the bottom right-hand corner was a big benefit. We've kept the power button, as you can see here, the main button, the shortcuts button have all remained essentially the same. The other difference is, if you guys recall, not all the dealers used it, but some dealers we had status bar options to show sunrise, sunset, etc. that would show up in the four corners of the old larger UIs. We've now relegated that all to the bottom left-hand corner, and it's a marquee, so it will scroll consistently through from 1 to 4 different options that you could put down there. And I'm going to show you that within Accelerator in a moment. Now, it's a lot of talk about the grid view, and that's only the first view the ribbon view, and that's only the first view I've shown you. What we've also heard from dealers, especially people that are used to using an iPhone or an iPad with a more traditional look where the icons fill the screen, as well as the people that use a 1080 that don't want to be limited to what ribbon view shows you on the 1080, which reduces your options to 3 options on the screen. They look beautiful, but it's only 3 of them. We also have a grid view. The grid view, and by the way, I want to remind you that this view is decided on a per interface basis. So I can have my 1080, which I do, my 1080 in my home on grid view, but my 7100 and 7600s are in ribbon view because they look the best there. Charlie, incandescent bulb. Well, first of all, we have generic icons. And by the way, my LED bulbs look very similar to that even today because they still make them look the same. However, you do have a selection of customized graphics that URC has created that you can choose to replace that with. You know, I have to say, we may want to pick on that small stuff, Charlie, but I will say, if you didn't notice, the graphics have had a major retreatment, and I think they did a wonderful job. And remember, you can still always customize these if you really wanted to. So I'm going to move past that because I wanted to make sure you understood that grid view and the fact, of course, that it could be done. Thank you, Charlie. That it can be done on a per UI basis, which really makes this very versatile. The next view I want to show you. So at launch, we are going to have these 2 views. The big difference in a grid view on a large interface is, of course, you lose some of the background image. For those of you that may not need such a large background image for you or your customers, feel free not to use it and do the grid view. You know, play around with it, find the one that you like and the one that's easiest to sell to your customers. So although these will be at launch, you will see soon after launch within Q4, they're already developing it, another view we're calling the XL view, which is really a combination of the ribbon view, which gave you 6 icons per page, and the grid view, which gave you 15 icons per page. This takes up as much room as the grid view, but brings you back to 6 icons per page and lets us take advantage of the higher resolution images. And it really shines. I happen to like this view a lot, although I haven't even played around with it yet. So besides all of this, what you'll notice here on the screen is just like a typical mobile device or iPad or Android device. There is a little image there showing that there's a window to the left of this screen. So you can swipe right. This is an optional view that installers can decide to use, and we call it the scene view. The scene view is activated when you swipe. If you took this screen or any of the main menu screens and you swipe to the right, you would be shown the menu on the left, which is the scenes view. And we'll talk about in details about the scene view, but this really is just a bunch of macros or scenes for your customer to get to that have great associated images with them. So that was a big overview. We're going to break each one of those different locations down, like background, scenes, rooms, etc. But that was a big basic overview. So now I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about background images. Now, background images have a couple of different styles. Of course, we give you a whole bunch within URC Accelerator, but they're easy enough to import. We will import an image up to 4,000 by 4,000 resolution. So the reason we bring in a square resolution is because since we don't know how someone's going to mount our keypads, which can be mounted either horizontally or vertically, we wanted to make sure that dependent upon your use, you would have something that maximized the resolution in one area. Of course, if you decide to keep all your screens in a landscape version, that's probably going to be closer to 4,000 by 2,850 or something like that, so it'll actually fit on the screen. If you decide to bring in a 4,000 by 4,000 image and you use it in a landscape mode, it's going to cut out the top and bottom. Conversely, if you use it in portrait mode, it's going to cut out the left and right. So we don't want to limit anyone and have someone lose resolution, but you'll find the ideal resolution for the typical way that you mount these. So the other great thing about this main menu is in order to make sure that the customer's focus stays on what they're choosing to do, when you hit something like the entertainment menu or the lights menu, the background just gets blurred. It's still visible, which lets the user know where they are. The best thing about the background images, which can be decided on a per room basis, that should have been here. I apologize for the fact that we didn't put down the background images, that it is done per room. The great thing about this is no matter what UI you have in the room, whether you're using the 7600 by the door or the 1080, by the couch, the background looks the same, so you know you're in the same room. We decided to not allow this to be changed per UI because for the end user, it is their indication of the room that they are in. But each of the rooms in my home, and I can show you this in the file I have later, each of the rooms in my home has a distinct background image, so I know what room I'm in. Are there any questions about the background images? We give you about 30 or 40 to choose from, although people, we've had a lot of our people here, including myself, that have brought in pictures of the family, etc. No, they don't get stretched, Rich. We want to make sure we maintain the aspect. So if anything, a smaller image will get just blown up and it may pixelize a little bit, which if you have all small UIs, if you have a house full of 5600s and 1080s, may not be a big deal because the resolution on that's low anyway. But if you want to expand the thing to look great on a 7600, you really want to try to maximize the resolution. I've been getting pretty good at Photoshop and GIMP and the IR fan view, all these image editing things to get the best looking images in there, and they look really great. If there are no other questions, I'm going to move on to the scenes page. Scenes page is one of my favorite additions, and it's probably one of the ones I use the most. So although I love seeing the background image, I officially use the background image every day because it's part of the system. The scenes have really made a big difference. So the scenes menu, which again is available if you swipe right for the main menu, as long as you populate it. If you decide not to include any scenes, you will not have this menu available to you. But as the installer, you can install scenes, and just so we're clear, a scene is just a macro. It's really anything you want, and it looks best when it's associated with an image, like dinner, relax, good night, goodbye, welcome home, good night, good night, goodbye, welcome home, good morning, panic. These are some of the scenes I have in my home. A scene is really just a macro. These are room-based, so every room can have up to 100 scenes. It's a bit long. I personally have found putting around 10 scenes in a room is the best because 10 scenes fill up a larger UI perfectly, as you can see here. But you can also see there's an up and down scroll bar on the right. This up and down scroll bar will let you access the rest of the 100 if you decide to add more here. We did not want to add additional page flips to the right to embed yourself deeper in a scenes menu. So just like our favorites menu, when you go here, you then have the up-down choice to be able to see all the scenes you want. Now, for you real custom installers out there, and I see some names I recognize that I know this is going to resonate with, these scenes, we decided to make a little more trick. Besides the fact that you could put your own custom images in here, By the way, these image sizes are 1140 by 1140. Besides that, you can make a scene that has 2 different states. So you can create a variable within the program. I'll give you a quick example later. You can create a variable within the program that the scene looks at. If the variable is false, it shows 1 image, 1 set of text, and it gives you 1 action available. And if the variable is in a true state, it gives you a whole different image if you like, a whole different text if you'd like, and a whole different action if you'd like. So a perfect example for this, like I have in my home, and I'll show you in a bit, is I have a room lights on and a room lights off button that shows a picture of an off light bulb. When you hit it, it says turn room on. When you hit it, it shows a picture of a lit light bulb, and then it says turn room off. And when you hit it, it turns the room off and shows you a picture of an off light bulb. There's a whole bunch of ways people can use this thing, but it's a killer feature. And I just added, by the way, 2 nights ago, I added my front door lock. So I have a picture here that says lock door, and it shows a picture of an unlocked lock, and then unlocked door, and it shows a picture of a lock. It's pretty darn cool. Now, the other thing about this scenes page is normally when you hit this main button down here, you would jump to that main page we've shown you before. You can also select the option for the scenes page to be the default landing page when you hit menu. So if you would like this, especially for commercial establishments, larger homes, or for maybe just for the keypad in the wall, you may want to have a room that is a scene-driven room. Not that they can't get to the main menu, because they still can if they swipe to the left in this case. But if you want to default them to land on this scenes page, you have that option within Accelerator. So you can have a scene-driven room or a scene-driven user interface. Now, if you decide to use this option, some of you that are, that really are understanding what I'm saying would say, well, then wait, what happens when you hit this movie button? It does the macro, and the last thing in the macro is jump to the DVD player, jump to Apple TV. If you want to keep this on scenes, you don't want that jump to happen. So we didn't make you create a brand new macro that doesn't include the jump. You can actually select on a scene to call it what we call, or internally are calling, a freeze jump. What that means is do the macro, just ignore the jumps. So that way this scene interface or scene UI that you created by the front door remains on the scene page, but the room now playing action is still switched over to Apple TV or DVD, and the other UIs in the room will jump to the now playing page. Questions, comments? I think this is a great, I use this all the time. This is a great feature, especially for the advanced programmers out there. I'll give like 10 seconds in case you guys have a question, and I'll move on to the rooms menu. Oh, Charlie. I was hoping people would understand this at a really deep level, but not as deep as you went. So actually, it's one of the comments. Charlie asked when you jump to a room, or when you jump to a device, you could typically only jump to the device itself, and it jumps to the default page for the device. That is still the case now. However, we have heard from the prior testers that we want to have a default page. It's actually in our request for improvements. So that will I'm going to guess it'll be out Q4, but not upon release. Channel up, down, etc. I don't understand what you mean, David.
If there's no jump, how do you control?
If there's no jump, how do you control channel up and down would be from another UI in the room. If you want to use this to still control the jumps, then you wouldn't use the freeze jump, because then you would want this user interface to jump to the device. What I'm saying is sometimes you don't want a specific user interface to jump to a device, where you may want to have the other UIs in the room, like your handheld devices, jump to the device, and you could do it that way. I hope that makes sense, David.
Right.
Thank you. So, if there are no other questions, can you go to a specific Pandora channel? Well, I would say it depends. If you have our SMP2 and you have a Pandora set up as a favorite, yes, you can have it jump to that favorite. So it really would, Damon, it really would depend on where you're accessing Pandora from. If you're accessing it through the Sonos app, well then no, because we don't have that much control over the Sonos player to go directly to that. It would go to the last channel. So it would really depend on where you were listening to Pandora via. Okay, yeah, listen, I really found that this really makes sense for, I can only tell you what I use it for in my home, and it gets a lot of use. And that would be for, you know, I do have a movie scene, I do have a dinner scene, by the way, to mimic here. I have a welcome home, a good night, all room off, a whole house off, a locked door. You know, some really key things like that make a lot of sense here. So I'm going to move on to the rooms menu. The rooms menu is a thing I think that makes this easiest to sell, but it doesn't get used by nature as much as everything else because it only gets used when you want to change rooms. However, the rooms menu is a new hot looking rooms menu. I think I've said hot too many times, so it's first thing in the morning for me, pardon me. So room images, first of all, we give you a whole bunch of default room images that look like a traditional bedroom, traditional home theater, etc. However, all of these you can actually take a picture of the room. It's also 1140 by 1140. By the way, for those of you that are going to be using this when it first comes out, the easiest thing that everyone has found to do so far is use, at least on an iPhone, use the square mode when you take a picture of a room. If you use the square mode and then you take that image, it's already square, so then you resize it to 1140 by 1140 and it looks, I'm not going to say the H word, it looks great. So just like the old rooms menu, there are still things you can do, but I think it makes it look even better. So when you open the rooms menu, before you even go to the room, you can select the volume icon here, and it jumps to the, it doesn't jump anywhere, sorry, it opens up the volume plus and minus. You can adjust volume for that room. If you hit the light button, it'll activate what we're officially calling a lights off macro. It is a single action command. I apologize for the image here, which shows a light bulb on number 2 here that's filled in and a light bulb that's not filled in on number 1. This is an old image. The new image has just what you see in room number 1 here, which is this empty light. And it only is meant to turn the room off. It does not track the status. However, a lot of our alpha testers have still, since it's just a macro, have made it into a press and hold. So you press it once. When you press it, it turns the lights off in the room. But if you press and hold it, for 3 seconds, it turns on the lights in the room. So it can still be a dual function button or any multi-function button, being it's a macro, but there is no feedback on it. The power button here, of course, turns off the room. And clicking on the room jumps to the main menu on the room. Clicking on the now playing source jumps to the now playing in the room. And clicking the link button for DMS zones is how you link the rooms, all without leaving the rooms menu. So I find myself going here when I go to bed and making sure the home theater is off, hitting the off button in the home theater. You know, that I do almost religiously every night. But I don't find a reason to actually jump into the room because I'm already upstairs, you know, in the bedroom. I'm not downstairs anymore. So you can use this in multiple different ways. 3 rooms per page. And of course, you can scroll through the rooms three at a time. The other thing about the rooms menu, for you old Accelerator users, the 2 biggest complaints we got about the rooms menu have also been addressed. And this is important because it's not down here in bullet points, so it's just me talking. So the important things to note here are, one of the things that the dealers hated was the fact that if you decided to make a room not selectable from the kids' room, like say you didn't want the kids' room to be able to control the master bedroom, it still showed up in the rooms menu. You just couldn't select it. So it was a little deceiving. Now you can have a custom rooms menu per UI, and you could say, well, no, kids' room, you can't see the master bedroom. So their rooms menu will only have the rooms that you would like to have within it. The other big addition, before I get to your question, Jack, the other big change we made is based upon dealers' comments, were they wanted to be able to decide the order of the rooms menu per user interface. Typically, the rooms menu would show up in the order of the project tree. now you can change the order of the room per UI. So like I have in my home theater, I have the 3 rooms that I typically go to the most, which is the back deck, the office, and the kitchen. I have those in my the first 3 rooms in my home theater. But upstairs in the bedroom, I have the master bath and I have the home theater as the 2 first ones, because those are the ones I go to the most. So those have all been addressed. The rooms menu is easy to work with. It's super versatile and it looks great, especially when you see your own rooms in here. It's pretty darn cool. So Jack, you'd like to know if room linking will be customizable, only work with DMS. So that's a great question. Upon launch, it will still only work with DMS. We are working for volume pop-up for IP controlled receivers that will allow IP controlled receivers to also be included in room linking, but that will not be on launch. Hopefully that'll be a Q4 release, but I really do not know where they stand with the progress on that right now. But that is a demand. It's just really difficult to do, considering different brands don't all have IP, so it would be very restricted to only maybe specific models, makes and models, to be able to do this. So we are looking into that, Jack, because I know that is a big demand. Mike's saying, will I be able to convert existing projects without starting over? Mike, great question. I'm going to put you off because we actually talk about that in a bit, and it's a discussion to have in a while. But just as a little prelude, don't get all worried. You don't have to do that much work. But you can still charge a lot of money for it, by the way. So any other question about the rooms menu before I move on to the other 2? What happened to the DMS AV out? Well, we have a DMS out, which is still current, and the DMS AV, which is discontinued. So I don't know what you mean by the DMS AV out, Larry. Okay, I'm going to move on, Larry, if you want to describe that. Oh, hold on. Yeah, you can still link with an AV receiver. Yes, we're just talking about third-party AVRs. So can the user do it? So Damon, that's a good question, and it's a big discussion we had before our article with Julie. As of right now, all of these customization features are all installer functions. We intentionally, and we're hoping, we've talked to our installers, and I'll get to your thing, Ben, in a second. We've talked to our dealer base, and we, at least an initial rollout, would like to start this as an installer changeable thing, because with off-site programming, you should be able to charge someone to go in once a year and hey, maybe put all Christmas backgrounds as their backgrounds for all their rooms. Maybe you change them. Maybe they send you new images of the family and they want it changed. Maybe they we want to give you the ability to have some recurring monthly revenue, or at least a way to keep in touch with your customers and add and enhance their systems. So Damon, unfortunately, this is only done with an Accelerator. UI's faster, loading, switching rooms, et cetera, et cetera. Ben, we actually talk about that in a bit, but absolutely they are faster. And by the way, we're still not happy with how fast they are, even though they're probably twice as fast, and we're still working on making them even faster. So I'm going to move on to device images. So like I said, you could do this in 1.0, except it was really awkward to do. I would tell you it's still kind of awkward. You still have to put the images within a specific folder, but if you do that, you can then select those images. Okay, so the other thing I would tell you is I was a big fan of this, the ability to do this in 1.0, even if it was awkward. However, in 2.0, we've really redone our device icons so well that I haven't found the need to bring in my own custom icon when the ones we have look so good. But you can. I don't want you to say you can't. The best thing and easiest thing to do, just like 1.0, is to build it and use the URC library. However, if you want to add your custom images, the easiest thing to do there is to build it within the driver itself. I just wanted to give you an example of what this menu looks like. This goes back to what I said before, whereas the background's blurred out when a new menu pops up so the end user knows, here's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's the only thing that's focused, it's in focus and clear on the screen. So that is really what you need to know about device images. The other thing to talk about really here is the fact that, and for you guys that have used Accelerator, you guys know that if you wanted to change the Apple TV icon in all of your rooms and you had 5 user interfaces and 10 rooms, you would have to make 50 changes and it would take you 20 minutes or a half hour. It was a nightmare. So I would tell you now, since there is only one size UI, you only replace this once per room. So instead of changing it 50 times in a 10-room project, I changed it 10 times. And I did a trial the other day. I changed the Apple TV icon in a 30-room system in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. I wrote that down because I was shocked that it took me 2.5 minutes essentially to change an icon in 30 rooms. So even if you decide not to bring these into the driver, which of course would be the best place to do is bring it into the driver, if you decide not to do that, you can always manually change it per project, spending 10 minutes changing everything in your project if you'd like. Any questions about device icons, device images? Great. By the way, the same is true, almost identical to main menu icons. This goes back to Charlie's comment earlier. We have a couple of different light icons. However, this is the default light icon. If you want to change it on a 10-room project, you would change it, and it would take you 2 minutes on a project to change it to something different. However, you asked the question, Charlie, is it changed? Is it stored forever? No, it is not. You have to change it on a per project level unless you bring in a custom image and name it the right way. What you'll see is, and this is going to be about maybe 3 weeks to a month after release, unfortunately, because we have a lot of documentation to do. There is absolutely a way to bring in your own custom icon, call it lights, and have it become your new default icon for every time you bring in lights. It's a small procedure. It'll take you 15 minutes to do it. But if you spend that 15 minutes every other project you do for the rest of your life, well, it's as long as, the world's still around, I guess, and zombie apocalypse doesn't happen. But as long as it's still viable, you will have a new lights icon show up in all your projects. So besides being customizable, like we just said, you also can decide if you'd like on the color that the letters are, the backdrop of the letters. By default, if you bring in a custom image, by default it will have a black bar behind white lettering. However, if you bring it in, and I'm not going to get into all the details here, if you bring it in and put a hex value after it, this will all be in that graphics manual we're going to talk about. You put in a hex value after it, you can decide that on the color that not just this shows up, but it's the background color, and I'm backing up. You see this menu here? You see this blue background? This background is the category color. You can customize the category color based upon the hex value you put in after the custom image. Jack, you cannot customize images for buttons. Buttons within a device are still text-based. Unfortunately, that was one of the other requests. It's not as easy as we've been thinking and telling the engineers that it is, but it is something that they are looking into. I don't want to make you a promise for any kind of timeline on that, Jack. I'll tell you, it doesn't take away too much from my experience. Oh, thank you, Barney, for pointing out there's no more Rhapsody. A lot of these are old images. The one thing, though, that you did make me think about, Barney, so thank you, is the fact that when you have these main menu icons, you can decide whether you want them to have what we call sub-menu thumbnails or not. So this sub-menu thumbnail here, you see a sub-menu thumbnail shows you the first 3 items. If it is a category, shows you the first 3 items in that category. Personally, I don't use them. So what I do here is I don't use them, and my music just shows the nice music icon, because I actually use that one. I like that music icon. So I don't have it show up because honestly, after the first 2 times you use it, I know the first 3 things so I really don't care for it. but it also serves to show the end user that that is a folder that shows you future options, whereas lights and security just open up modules. So, if you want to use it, you can. Totally your choice, and it's your choice on a per user interface basis. So a lot of the things we talk about, you can change per UI. Questions about these? Okay, to keep up with this new style and new look, we've redone all of our two-way modules to look like they fit into 2.0. The downside is, and this is one of my first references to 1.0, the downside is these new modules, although they will work with 1.0, will have the new graphics. So the graphics may look a little discontiguous between the two. However, the new graphics are important because I think they look great. And modules, to bring up what was asked earlier, the modules do open faster and they are much more responsive than they were. And I'll talk more about why that is in a few minutes. Questions? Wow, I am way late. Guys, for those of you that know me, I talk a lot. So we may be a little late today, but I hope it's worth everyone's time because I think there's a lot of exciting things to talk about here. So all of that being said, I'll move on to just show you an example of some of the new modules that we have here with the new look, the new black background for favorites. And the new favorites module works great. So other than that, I'm going to move on to ease of customization. So I want to make sure you may see some terms show up in our marketing, and I want to make sure we're all clear on it. One of the things we've always talked about, and for those of you that have taken the Accelerator Challenge, Jack Thompson, and have won money from that, you're welcome, Jack. You owe me dinner next time at Cedia. But for those of you that know, we've always gone to market and said how quick our system is to program, because you can program realistically a 12-zone system in an hour, a fairly complete 12-zone system in an hour. Unfortunately, we realized that if an installer decides to personalize everything and take pictures of everything in a customer's home and make it backgrounds and room images, it's going to take a little longer. So we're going to keep using the word customization and say how quick it is, but we're going to distinguish between them and say if you decide to personalize the system with the customer's own equipment, rooms, etc., it's going to take a little longer to do. However, it'll be a system that is truly unique to that customer. No two systems look alike, but I hope you would charge more for the personalization versus customization. So now we get to talk a little bit about what we did for Accelerator. A couple of major changes here. First of all, this will not be an update to the current version of Accelerator. We are not discontinuing 1.0. 1.0 is still going to be out there. We're not going to force people to upgrade to 2.0. So it's going to be a brand new program, and it's going to be called Accelerator 2.0. To make sure you guys do not confuse it with 1.0, we are going to give you a new desktop icon. We gave a new splash screen. There's a new color shade, slightly new color shade. It's not too much different. The icons all have color now and have been redone. So we made it look a little different to make sure that you guys won't download to a 1.0 system mistakenly. The reason that's important, and it will come up later, when you upgrade to 2.0, first of all, the initial download will take 3 to 4 times longer than normal. We upgrade all the firmware, which takes a little bit longer. However, once upgrade to 2.0, you cannot go back, period. You are in a 2.0 system. You'll never see 1.0 with that equipment again. So we want to make sure that you don't accidentally download. You'll even get a message that pops up before the downloads that says, you're about to download 2.0. Are you sure you want to do this? I hope, I don't want any of you guys to be the first call we have here from someone that has decided to download incorrectly. So before I jump into Accelerator, I want to show you some of the stuff. I want to talk about some of the other, and I'll go through them quickly, some of the other changes that we've made that are outside of just Accelerator. And then we will, and then I'll show you within Accelerator some of these new options. You download to everything, Charlie. and everything is not backwards compatible. Now, do I know if we tried it with a DMS 100, will it be? I got to say, I don't know, but we're told by the engineers, just it's not backwards. So I don't know the answer to that definitively, but I just don't know if it matters. Jack, great question. You must be on site. You will not be able to upgrade remotely, which is why I know, and I hope, and I really do know our dealers will be charging for this. It's too much data going across the line. We talked about this. There are too many possibilities for mess ups during the transmission of the new firmware that could lock and break things. So we decided to not allow it to happen from offsite. Another good question, Jack. That's 4 out of 5 good questions. I'll give you that. So moving on, reliability. This was a major thing with a lot of our dealers. Listen, we've had dealers that will tell you they're 99.9% or 99.5% was the actual quote, reliable, no issues. But we also have dealers that have had consistent issues depending upon their ISP provider, networks that they use, etc. So here are some of the efforts that we've took. The first thing we did is we have beat the living daylights out of this in terms of testing. We have never sent, and I sent 2 of my trainers home for 2.5 weeks to test 400 line items multiple times to make sure that we were going to have a system that was going to have all the integrity our dealers wanted to have. We caught so many things that we may not have caught if we didn't do this. So we are doing newer, deeper, better testing than we've ever done before. So hopefully we've squashed most of the bugs there. Because reliability comes in 2 forms. Reliability comes in, hey, will the thing always work? But it's a computer, so we know that on occasion things will happen. The next most important thing about reliability is if something happens, how easy will it be to identify the problem and find the solution? And that is another major advancement we have made. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. We have developed what we're calling TCL forks. Now I'm going to use the example I've been using for the wait, hold on, Richard. Is that testing available for third-party developers? Richard, by the way, Richard is here from Chow Mein, so I welcome Richard. Richard, I'm not positive. I'm running a little late, so let's discuss that offline. You have my email address, so we can discuss that offline. So one of the things I would tell you is all of the two-way modules run in what we call TCL, not we call, it's tool command language. It is an older language that we thought was going to be quick and lightweight enough for the system. The problem we had with TCL was the TCL framework was a big pool, and all the modules played in the same pool. The problem you had, just like any public pool, if one of the modules takes a poop in the pool, everyone has to get out of the pool. Sorry for that analogy this early in the morning, guys, but it's one that'll resonate, and I guarantee you'll remember it. So if one of our modules took a poop, it affected the system and the rest of the modules. So thank you, Charlie. What we've done is we have made a big public playground with a whole bunch of small pools. So if a module has an issue, it should only affect that module. So I won't get the calls about someone saying, oh, all of a sudden all my two-way modules broke and we couldn't figure out which one it was, because the first step is what module caused it to break. So now we're easily able to identify what module caused the problem. And the good news is the rest of the system should still work with as much integrity as it had prior, just that one module would work, and you give us a call and say, hey, this module isn't working. Will the current TCL editor work for creating modules 2.0? I believe so, Dave. That's a more developer question that I don't want to have to answer on this call, and I'm really not part of the engineering team that created the TCL editor, so I can't speak to that. I can speak for what's out to the dealers. So, Dave, once again, you can feel free to email us afterwards, and I'll forward your inquiry to the right person. So all of that being said, We also have a tool that we're using, at least for now, internally called the MCS tool. That is also a way for us to help diagnose problems. And for those of you that have called in and we've used the MCS tool, you have probably noticed that it's easier for us to find issues with devices. So thank you, Charlie, for level 2. We've been working a lot with level 2 to make sure that they know as much as possible, although we never know everything. So, Jim, your question, are legacy 2 device UIs not compatible? I will tell you exactly about that right as we get to the very end. I promise we'll go back, so make sure you're ready. Oh, now let me tell everyone what it is. As a matter of fact, forget it, Jim, I'll tell you right now. So every total control UI is compatible in some fashion. We are incompatible, letting you know right now, for anyone that is upgraded to or from CC Gen 2, CC Gen 2, none of those products are going to be upgradable to 2.0. I'm sorry, there was no way to do it. However, for all total control products, everything can take the download. However, a TKP 2000, a 1280, a 780, a 7000 are good examples of interfaces that will take the download but will not get the graphic treatment. So everything else we've talked about, they'll still benefit by the reliability, the TCL forks, etc. However, they will still maintain the old user interface. All of the newer UIs, the 1080, the 820, the 5600, the 7600, iOS, Android, all of those will get the new graphic treatment. There was simply no way to go back with the low resolution devices and the old programming and firmware. There was no way to upgrade them without delaying release of this way too long. So all of that being said, the other thing to talk about is enhanced speed. I don't have a slide for this, guys, only because everything that we've done, and Julie mentioned this in this article, all of this was about when we decided to redo the firmware and include all these graphics, what one of our goals was, we had to do all of this without increasing the footprint of the firmware in terms of memory requirements and processor requirements. We didn't want to increase the footprint for any of the processors or the user interfaces. And what we did was we actually made this whole new experience so much more efficient in terms of coding and changing the way TCL works. Everything that we've done, almost by nature, has helped us with enhanced speed. And how will that show up? That'll show up all of the ways that we've talked about so far, in everything opening up faster, reacting faster. I downloaded about half the speed, twice the speed as I did before. And I upload from the system in probably 70% faster than I uploaded before. So in that regard, it is a lot faster in almost every way that I can think of it being faster. So all of that being said, Charlie, I'm sorry, I don't have time to entertain that. That's a product development question, not myself. However, I know we are looking at another version of a remote for total control, but everything right now is we've been concentrating on 2.0. So moving on, one more point to talk about before we finally, at 10 o'clock, get to dive into Accelerator. I really apologize, guys. What I would tell you is, and by the way, we'll tell the 12 o'clock crew that we're going to go late because we know we will, and something that you guys, a lot of you good, deep power users will love is the additional automation options we added. So really briefly, because I don't want to go into the details here, and those of you that use it will understand it. Those of you that don't use it may not need to understand it. We've enhanced our conditional logic. Really, I would probably give it an 80% increase in quality if I had to give it a grade right now. It jumped up a lot. A couple of things we've done. We've added to our if statements, we've added the ability to put and or. So now you can make a much more intelligent conditional logic statement to evaluate stuff by using those combo packages. On top of that, we actually let you say, hey, is the bedroom TV on? We actually let you look at the power state of the devices in your project. Now, you guys using Accelerator know that the MRX unit has always known what the power status was of your device, because that's how we turn the rooms off and on with toggle devices. But we never let you see it, and you would have to make your own manual variable to track it. We actually now let you check it. Also, soon after release, not actually on release, we are going to also let you see the condition of two-way devices. So the same things you can react to with two-way devices, you can poll for. So you could say, hey, if Sonos is in play mode and the Nest thermostat's in cool mode and the TV in the bedroom is off, do this. That was kind of crazy logic there. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what you can do with if-else statements. And I'm not done. We've also added what dealers have been asking for, the ability to look at a time or a date within an if-else statement. If it's between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., if it's 30 minutes before sunset till 2 a.m. in the morning, do this. We've really given you the ability to make much more intelligent home automation or intelligent home macros. For those of you that use this, this is an incredible, incredible way to make a house smarter. So all of that being said, overall, and you guys can feel a comment, that is all the major changes in 2.0, and there are a lot of them, an hour's worth of talking essentially. So comments, questions, really quick, because I want to jump right into Accelerator after kind of one more slide. But, and you can just give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. You have a hand, you can raise your hand here if everyone thinks it's good. Why don't we just do a hand raise? What does everyone think? Because I'm really, really happy with it, and I hope you guys are impressed with what you've seen so far before you even used it. Okay. I guess I'm boring everybody. Thank you, Charlie. So the one thing I want to say, and I've told this to our sales team, is that all of that's good. And I know you guys are going to go out pitching all that stuff, but let's not forget what brought us to the party in the first place. I know a lot of names here are successful total control dealers already. Let's not forget the things we already have, because that's what got us where we are today. And all the other stuff we have is just extra ammunition to be able to sell total control. The one thing to bring up here is on iOS and Android, we remove, or on iOS and Android, we removed the integration button on the ribbon that would let you jump to other things on the device. What we've done is we've built it into the shortcuts menu. So when you hit shortcuts, the bottom half of the shortcuts menu are your iOS integration devices. It's a smarter place to put it, and it really is a shortcut anyway. So ending on the fact that there is no going back, and by the way, I haven't found any desire to go back. I want to end this thing and give you a little view of some of the differences in Accelerator for 10 or 15 minutes. When this releases, there will be documentation and e-learnings out to support all these features. But let's go right now into Accelerator. We're current with all the questions?
Yeah,
are there anything we need to address in public?
The only one is by Guillermo. He asked something which I answered, but I just want you to double check it for me.
Wait, say his name again, because I like how you say it.
Guillermo.
Very nice. I would just say, I would say anything. That's why I didn't answer. No, once installed on my PC. Oh, by the way, nothing happens. Okay, you'll have two versions of Accelerator. You'll have Accelerator 1.0, just called Accelerator, and Accelerator 2.0. So nothing will happen to your systems until you download to them. Just don't download with 2.0 and they'll stay 1.0. That's simple. All that being said, Accelerator. I'm showing you, by the way, an engineering version because of course, we don't have the public version out yet. But I want to do a really quick view here of some of the differences. And almost everything I'm going to show right now is going to be based upon the graphic changes within the program. So a couple of things, starting from the project menu, because almost everything is generated from the project menu. Starting from the project menu, we've added a new filter button under the home, which lets you filter and only see, say, base stations. This is great for big projects. If you just want to see only certain devices or only third-party devices, etc. Right now, I'm going to leave it set to all. I just wanted to show you that. Now, when you're looking at a room, you have a couple of new options here under properties. I want to go under the room properties first before I go over scenes. So starting with the room properties, a couple of things that are different here. The first thing you'll notice is you can still hide the room. Hiding the room means it doesn't show up on anyone's rooms menu. I get to decide what the room lights off action. What action do you want to have happen when you hit this button? They're recommending you don't use press and hold. We're using it here successfully, but we may not want to use a press and hold. We may just want to make this either a toggle or a single action. And when you hit action here, of course, you can select from essentially anything you could select in a macro window to be able to make this action do whatever you'd like. So that's where you hit the lights off action that shows up as that little light bulb in the rooms menu. The other thing you could do here, like I mentioned, is you can decide which are the 4 different status devices that will rotate on the bottom left-hand corner, which is, some of the options you have right here. And we're looking to expand this option. Just looking at some questions here. We already so the current drivers. Yes, you already bring that up. That they'll be updated. So let's talk about the update process. So when I update, I left the rooms menu, guys. I'm going off on a couple of different variables, tangents here, sorry. You can also decide on the room image right here. This is the image that will appear when they show the rooms menu. What you'll see here when I hit image, it's going to open up the default image folder, and I can choose from any images that we support you with, but you get the ability to select essentially any folder on your computer and select any image you want that's 1140 by 1140 and bring it in as a room image. That's showing you how easy it is to be able to do that. So the other thing is, this is the background image for the room. Remember, I said it was a room image. We recommend 2048 by 2048 because that is the max resolution that you'd ever really need based on an iOS device. Although we'll take 4000 by 4000. We've noticed that in a 30-room system, if you put in all 4000 by 4000, you could use up some of the memory, a little bit too much memory on the UIs. Right now, it is not required, but we recommend 2048 by 2048. You'll get the best picture quality with that, just like you would with 4000 by 4000, because it'll resize it to 2048 anyway. So that's everything in the rooms property. So here's what you need to know. When you open up an existing 1.0 to address the question that was asked earlier, you can open up an existing 1.0 project in 2.0. However, here's what's going to happen. The background image will be a standard kind of cloth-looking gray background. It won't look bad. It just won't look like anything special. That will be the default background. Room images will get one of 2 different treatment that shows up here. If you have a typical room name like den or family room or living room, you will get the default living room, family room, or den image. If you have a weird room like Billy's room, you're going to get a picture of what looks like a blueprint that'll say Billy's room under it, but we don't know what the room looks like. So when you upgrade, we don't have a choice but to use anything that we know. For drivers, to bring up what someone mentioned earlier, if you have an old DVD image, an old DVD driver, you bring it in, we're going to give you the new DVD image that we use here. If you had a custom image, we're going to take your custom image and scale it. It may not look great in 2.0. You may find yourself redoing your custom images, your custom driver images in 2.0. But all that happens in the rooms menu.
So Jim asked the question about putting 2.0 on an MRX 10, not a 10N.
By the way, Jim, I would tell you, because of the way we've done the code, you may have lesser problem with an original MRX 10 than you would with a I can't say with a 10N because that has more stuff in it, but an original MRX 10, one of the problems was the processor and memory. Because we made the code more efficient, I have to tell you that we've upgraded. We don't have a lot of original MRX 10s here. We've tried it on a few and have not had any problems. So I could tell you, I don't know if I'd worry that much about it. I would have the same worries I had before, which is too many modules, etc. But if you were right at the verge of kind of working, kind of not working, this could actually help you.
And can you just, one last question is,
yeah,
can you open up a 1.0 file on your computer through 2.0? Because I know you can import it directly from the MRX10, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, you can open it. It'll let you open up an existing file. And then when you save it, it'll just save it as a new name. So that's just all in room properties, and that was just one of the menus. You can also now have a scenes menu. So like I said, I created some basic ones for myself here. So a good example of, I have, down here, I can decide for the whole room, do I want to force the main button to always jump to scenes? We talked about this earlier. When I hit main, should it go to the main menu or jump to scenes? This is a room-wide decision. However, I can also make this decision on a UI basis when I show you the UI menus. So the other thing to show you here is if I have a good night. A standard good night macro or a scene would look like this. You come up with a name. What do you want the label to say? What action do you want associated with it? And you do the action by, the same way you did it before. Hopefully you would have built it in universal macros. Like I think I did whole house. I have a good night macro. I already built it. I go ahead and now that when I hit this button, it fires that good night macro off. The scene doesn't change. Nothing changes because there's no action here. There's no, it's not a dual mode scene. However, it activates the scene. The other option I have is I have my lights, my room lights. And here's an example. I know it's an archaic, you may not like that incandescent bulb. I actually kind of like it. So, but my choice, remember, customized, I can decide what I want here. So what I did here is I have a button that says, hey, do you want the light to be turned on? And it shows a picture of the, hey, do you want it to look like this? If you do, hit the den lights on. I then have a variable that says when the den lights is true, show this. So then it shows this. So when I flip den lights to true, it then shows this scene, which says turn lights off and activates the lights off. It's pretty darn cool. And this works within, I would say within a second and a half of me hitting the macro, it switches its state to the off state or the on state. It is very, very quick. And that's the scenes menu, up to 100 in a room. Notice also here I can copy from other rooms. So if I wanted to copy one that was in the master bedroom, like secure home, because I didn't include it here, I would hit copy. It brings it in as a copy, and it brings in its icon or icons and all its actions, so you don't have to rebuild it again. Pretty darn exciting. The other thing to show you here, as soon as I get my filter back to all, which I never actually did. The other thing to show you here, so that exhausts what you can do here, scenes and properties. The other thing to show you is on a UI now, the new properties window. So new properties window, you can decide, remember I said per UI, you can decide do you want to be a ribbon view or grid view, and soon to be the upcoming Excel view. Do you want to show submenu thumbnails or not? And on a per UI basis, do you want to jump to the main menu or jump to the scenes? Now, by the way, before I finish this menu, I want to let you know that we've also added the ability within, when you go up here under File, under Accelerator options, we've given you the ability to decide your default for some of those, like ribbon view, submenu, thumbnails, and main menu jump. So we've let you add that as defaults right here. So if you always do it a certain way, you can change it so you don't have to always change it for each program. Also in the properties here, you can decide on a default. Default is the room order that's shown here, or you can make it custom. You can decide which ones to show. I can change the order up and down, and I can select the ones I want to show, and those will be the only ones that show. Pretty cool here also. In terms of all the graphic stuff, the only other thing to show you is, if you remember for 1.0, here's the example I was telling you before. If you want to change an icon. So in 1.0, if I wanted to change my now playing icon to, for some reason, this icon right here, if I wanted to change it to this icon, I would have to have had to drag it over. I would have had to go to the next UI for that room, drag it over, next UI for the room, drag it over, and then I would have to do it for every single room in the project. And by the way, as I did that, this window here would re-shrink back down to the original opening place, and the icon size would shrink back down to small if I enlarged it. So it was a nightmare. So now what you'll notice is I can change it in my den, and when I go to my next room, this window stays there. The size stays at the same size. The icon stays in the same place. I drag it over, drag it over, drag it over, drag it over. I don't have one in my admin room. And that's it. I just change all my rooms in a matter of, whatever, 20 seconds. So all of this can happen pretty quickly. So that's why I would get hung up about putting new default menu icons or sub-menu icons, because the same thing is true if I was in my entertainment. Although you can make custom, it's so easy to change them that it is not that big of a deal. We've made this so much easier. And the final thing I need to show you within Accelerator is just really briefly how you do the if-else statements. So really briefly, I'm just going to go to my universal macro section here, and I'm just going to make a brand new. Oh, I already started. I'll make a webinar macro here just to show you what it looks like. So now when I hit if else, I decide, do I want it to be a standard if else statement, or I want to add and to it or statements. I'll do an and statement, and then I can decide what do I want to look at here. So let's say I wanted to look at device power. I wanted to check my den. I can't read my den Samsung TV if it's on. And if I want to add an and statement, I double click the if, and I want to add a condition. And I also want to say if also it is after, if it is equal to 15 minutes before sunrise. I don't know, however you want to use this, guys. I'm making up some fake thing here.
If it's
Game of Thrones. If it's Game of Thrones or something. So anyway, you can add, and I can add multiples by hitting and again, hit another condition, and then also if a variable was bedroom cable test was true, do that. So I can keep adding these, make it really intelligent to add a. By the way, David, good question. Support for camera pop-ups is not. Camera pop-ups will just be supported on the 7600 on release and the 1080 soon after release. But by the way, guys, that is everything. I know I'm 11 minutes late. That is everything within Accelerator. Really quickly that I can show you. There are some small minor tweaks here and there, but that is everything that addresses all of the new features that we discussed. Questions? Comments? I got some people here that are normally very outspoken, and they're not speaking. How does Google Home fit in? Google Home will be one of the just like Alexa, it'll be one of the internal drivers, which, by the way, it's going to already be in I think it's already in my system. There it is. And it's going to, by the way, the only thing that makes it different than Amazon, since this isn't a Google Home thing, I'm going to show you anyway, okay? Because we're here. When you make a Google Home macro, the difference is here, for those of you used to Alexa, the difference is here is you can have up to 4 triggers. You say, hey, Google, tell URC, turn on Family Room TiVo. So since everyone doesn't know what to call it, I just include a whole bunch of different triggers. And I can include an app optional response, which is enjoy your total control system, which is already driving the family crazy because they already know it's total control. But you can do a custom response for Google Home, by the way. I'm looking at other questions here. This is being recorded. Yes, you already got the answer to that. Camera feeds over 1.0. They are improved. I don't have an actual image of that. I think they're similar. They're improved in terms of speed and refresh rate, but I think they look pretty similar. Jack, I forgot what the exact difference was. System monitoring tool look like. I'm not going to show you, Bruce. It's still internal. Still too early to show you. Sorry, but keep your eye out. I will. Hopefully, it'll be out for dealers sometime in Q4. We're still having that discussion. And Paul, I think we answered this. It is compatible with current Accelerator program. You don't have to reprogram. You upload or you open up an existing program. It'll change as much as it can, leaving the background images as that gray cloth and using generic images for rooms. So, part of the upgrade process as a dealer, depending on what you want to sell your customer, the reason you may want to go out to your customer's home is so you can show them and personalize it for their homes while you're doing the upgrade. I would tell you, I would leave yourself, depending upon the level of customization you want, I would leave yourself pretty much an hour or two to do the system. That should be about all it takes to go around, even taking pictures of a couple of rooms, or better yet, ahead of time, you can tell your customers, hey, we can have nice looking backgrounds, and we can have your rooms actually show up. Do me a favor, if you have some good pictures of your rooms, you want to take a picture of your room, please send it to me ahead of time in a square picture mode, and you can get all that stuff done ahead of time. 2.0 push notifications. David, I've been waiting for push notifications for so long. We are so close, and they put off fixing the final couple of things that had to get fixed with it for 2.0 to come out. So 2.0 will include it, but it will not be at release. We originally were slating release for July and push notifications out pre-Cedia. Right now, everything's moved up about a month, so I'm guessing about about October before you see push notifications. You will probably see push notifications before geofencing. Right now, they're a package, but geofencing is really the only bugs we have. Push notifications work great, but you'll probably see them come out prior to geofencing, and it should be out, I'm guessing, October. The new Sonos module, Jack, should be out coinciding with the 2.0 release. We're doing our testing on the Sonos API, so it should be out with release. The important thing to know is the old Sonos module will not work in 2.0, and the new Sonos module will not work in 1.0. So we know that when we release 2.0, we really have to have a Sonos module that will work, which is why we're planning for the Sonos module to have the release. And it will be with their new API, which means based on Sonos, and I don't want to hear the pushback from everyone because this is not our call, based upon Sonos, you will have about 15 commands that will be available through the module, and that is it. They have hamstrung everyone that is playing with Sonos to be limited to only X amount of commands. Everything else has to happen through the Sonos app. It is their call. You're answering that. Different iOS app. Yes, there will be you answered it, but just so in case people don't see the answer here, there will be an iOS version, a Total Control. Wow, I just forgot the name of the app. It's kind of weird, and I use it every day. It'll be called. It'll have V2 at the end of it, or 2.0. It'll have at the end of it. So you'll have to download a new app for this. We had to do that so people could still use the existing app on their existing systems. Target release date, you got MRX8, not a problem. Bruce, I have an MRX8 in my house for the last 4 months using this. It works absolutely fine. By the way, although you can't see the new tool we're using internally, I'm buzzing along at 19% memory. I got 4 modules and a whole bunch of macros, so I'm sitting good. Please keep it on the portal if I get answers to, if we get answers from, I can't read, what's the end of his question?
Answers from URC, it really helps.
Gotcha. We will try to do that. Converting a 1.0 file to 2.0, you open it up with 2.0 and it's converted, and then do the other conversion process that you told them?
Yeah, or you can get from remote, get from base station.
Charlie, listen, I'm going to answer you briefly because it's not what this meeting was about, but I know it's one of your you don't get that many chances. Everyone does to interact with everyone at URC. SMP2, more apps we're absolutely looking into. AirPlay is difficult. AirPlay's rules were you can't restream a stream, and the way that our SMP and DMS product works is it always creates a stream, and AirPlay is a stream in itself. So Apple said that you're not allowed to restream a stream. So that kind of had us hamstrung initially. We just started looking into, I think a week or 2 weeks ago, open communication to find out if that they have relaxed on that rule. So we will hopefully soon find out. We are also looking into Bluetooth. The problem is hardware-wise, there is no Bluetooth built into the SMP2 as it stands. New Lutron module. When you get a 2.0, you're going to find yourself downloading the latest modules from the control room because almost all the modules will be updated. See, yeah, we already answered that. Ron Weasley, really? Wesley. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. I read that wrong. Sorry. Being a Harry Potter fan, I was like, that's so cool. CP2, he already answered you. No, CC Gen 2 products, which is not possible to make compatible. 2.0 available from Joe. First thing you said, Joe. So no, it's still going to be available. Way too much work. It's the same basic architecture as you saw from the program open up on the screen. It's really just using the same Windows tool, so it's not going to be available. Where can you watch the recording of this? We'll send. We'll have a link. I'll
send this to Jared on YouTube.
It'll be on our YouTube channel with all the other ones. Oh, you already answered that. Thank you. Other questions? Remember Thanksgiving, guys. Let's concentrate on all the great stuff we've added here. Granted, there's always stuff we can still add, and we are still. I was talking to Mr. Park, for those of you who don't know, the owner of the company, just yesterday. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was Wednesday, and we talked about what are we going to do next to make sure we stay ahead of the game and don't have to worry about waiting a couple of years and playing catch up. Charlie, I don't blame you. I think from someone that has had used this for the last couple of months, I have been so tempted to send some of my better dealer friends copies of the version I have because it is such a different user experience. Even though it's just a new reskin, it's just so different that it's worth it. Thank you, David. We can't wait either. Guys, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope my excitement came through because I'm stupid excited. I can't even wait these last couple of weeks before the release. Thank you all for your participation, by the way, and look forward to seeing you or seeing some of you at CEDIA. For those of you that aren't going to CEDIA, it should be a fun time, great party, but it is on the West Coast. Other than that, guys, no last questions. Can't wait. Oh, this is probably the right place to ask, but we're going to need here some two-way what?
Developer training.
Yeah, this is probably not the right place to ask, is what you probably meant, Eric, because you would have been right about that. Get us offline on this. This is strictly a 2.0 introduction. Okay, good. Great, Eric. I will speak to everyone soon. Thank you again for showing up.
One more question.
Oh, one more question. What?
1.0 be supported?
The day after we release 2.0? No, I'm just joking. Russ, hold on, Jack. You think I'm going to give that to everyone here? Are you crazy? I'm just joking. I don't mind giving my email out. We'll support 1.0 as far as we can see into the near future. We have no plans to stop supporting 1.0. Will new products, and this is worth answering, David, new products may not be compatible with 1.0. Brand new modules may not be compatible with 1.0. Existing modules are going to stay compatible with 1.0, but there comes a point where every company has to move forward. Unlike some of our competitors, and I'm not going to get into any kind of argument or big discussion here. One of the big advantages, we are not making everyone upgrade their main processor to be able to get 2.0. So, we're going to continue to support as much as we can, but do realize that at some point you have to have an end of life for some things and, move forward. And if we play to the lowest common denominator and make sure that everything we do is compatible with everything that we've had in 1.0, there's going to be a remarkable lack of features moving forward as firmware, internal programming, etc., has changed. By the way, I'll just tell everyone. I'll send my email out in a bit. Actually, Jack, nothing personal, guys. I send things to training. I'm copying all training emails, and I will get that. So I am probably not. I get 200 emails a day. So I'd much rather, because I'm going to direct your question to an expert anyway. So just send it to training@universalremote.com, and I will still see it, and I'll still make sure it's addressed. I just don't want, if I go on vacation or I'm in meetings all day, I don't want an email directly to me to get ignored because I'm not at my email for multiple hours, sometimes days. So other than that, guys, thank you. I hope to see you all soon, and have a great rest of the day. By the way, I'll give a free I'm going to give a free MRX 10 and 1080 to anyone that shows up at CDU with URC 2.0 tattooed on them. Real tattoo, none of this fake tattoo crap. If anyone here is brave enough to do that, I will go out of my way to make sure you get that. Have a great one, guys. Speak to you later.